Hello everyone. Following up on my previous tutorial, this one we're going to go ahead and model out this chair. So it is going to be more or less the same exact process. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this group right here. I'm going to double click this, call it table underscore group or GRP. I'm going to hit Control H just to hide it. That's just to get it out of the way for now, and then I'll bring it back later. I'm going to go ahead and create a default cube. And I'm going to go ahead and move this right over here. I'm going to move the pivot to the bottom, and I'm just going to start scaling, looking at the width of it, and then I can start scaling it upwards to get the proper height that I'm after. So right about there, just like the table, it does have this similar extrusions. So I'm going to shift right click, open up the insert edge loop tool, use relative distance to edge, and do the same thing as before. Click the edge right here, click this one, go ahead and open up this perspective view just so you can see it a little bit more clearly. I'm going to grab all these faces, do a quick extrude, bring these edges in. I'm going to grab these ones like so, do another extrude. I'm going to go ahead and utilize both the thickness and the offset just like before. And now I'm going to go ahead and make this top side a little bit wider. And then notice how this leg also has that similar taper as it goes down to the ground. Go ahead and make another default cube. Come over here. In this case, instead of matching exactly to this image, I'm going to make sure it is lined up with this right here, just because this image is in a perspective. So I want to make sure that the height is the same position for all these legs. I think I'll start off with right about there. And to me, it kind of looks like these are a bit thinner legs. So maybe the leg is something like that. I'm going to go ahead and grab this top face and I'll just extrude. And I think I'll just drag it all the way to the top. Kind of scale it in. You might add one more edge loop, maybe like right about there. This way I can just add a slight curve to it, right? Like so. I'm going to go ahead and make another default cube. And just like before, using the image plane, notice how I am lining it up on this side and I'm just having it go perfectly straight. I'm not going to drag this up. Again, this is because this is a perspective image, so that wouldn't be accurate to what it would be in real life. And maybe I'll bring that in just a tiny bit. I can go ahead and use this geometry, Shift D, bring this up like so. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the pivot to that corner. And I can scale this down just to get the appropriate height that I want. Bring that in a little bit, just like so. I'm going to go ahead and create another cube one more time. I'm going to work on doing this cushion next. So I'm looking at the height of this cushion is right about there. And then I want to start dealing with the actual width and depth of it. So it looks like the cushion actually goes a little bit farther past this wood. So I'm going to bring that back and I think about right like so. Move this pivot to the bottom and then just kind of snap it to the bottom like so. Now that I have all those pieces, I can grab all these and I can actually translate it over. And this is a little bit guessing, so I'll probably put it right about like so. And then it looks like I'll probably have to do a little cutout for that little corner. And I'm going to go ahead and do a multiple edge loop. And this is just going to give me that center point. Same exact thing that I did with the table. I'm going to grab all this geometry. And a quick way to get this mirrored all the way over, just kind of scale it in a minus direction. So I'm grabbing all this geometry. I moved everything, all of the pivots, all to this point right here. I'm going to come up here to modify, freeze transforms. Notice how all this goes to default. Now, if I do Shift D, I can scale this by -1 in Z, and it just translates over perfectly. Now notice if I select this geometry, the pivot is over there. So to fix that, you can just select everything, go to modify and center pivot, and now everything's just back to normal. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this, rotate this by 90. And it is a piece of wood that goes along this way. And likewise up here, just going to do the same exact thing. Just grab these points and I'm just snapping at this point. Go ahead and bring this forward. Duplicate this one, bring it back. There's a few pieces right here, so I'm just going to grab this one, duplicate this up, and just like before, just kind of looking at this image to get the overall width. And it looks like this piece does have a slight curve to it. So I'm going to add an edge loop, and I think I'll add 3 total edge loops. This way it gives me enough points to kind of grab and just curve it back slightly. Something like that. And I can even grab these top ones and translate them back a little bit. Do this 2 more times. So duplicate this, bring this up. Do the last one right up here. Looks like this one might be a tiny bit shorter. And double check this view. And looks like I should actually translate these back just a tiny bit. Just try to get them a bit more centered. And now to finish off this cushion, I'm going to go ahead and grab these top faces. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to translate this down a little bit, just because I'm going to try and follow the shape of this a tiny bit closer. So I am giving this slight curve that I kind of see right there. So it kind of looks like there might be a little notch in the cushion. So in order to get that notch that I want, I'm going to add 2 more edge loops in this direction. I'm going to come back here, and I'm getting the topology working first, and then I'll kind of readjust the model. But I can get that notch by doing something like this. Now I can grab some of this, bring it back. I go into X-ray mode, make sure I grab everything that I need, grab all of those. I can start scaling that this direction, and notice how I essentially have this notch that I'm going for in the cushion. And I think maybe I'll just straighten out this geometry a little bit, or maybe I can actually follow that curve. And go grab all of these ones and kind of make them a bit more flush. So when I look at this, I can turn off wireframe. Notice how it does have that slight indent for the cushion to go around the leg. And in this case, since this is a cushion, I do want it to look a bit softer. Notice how you have these hard edges. So I'm just going to grab this entire thing, mesh display, do soften edge. And then just to avoid this sort of darkening on this edge like so, what I'm going to do, grab this bottom edge and just kind of double click, going all the way around. I get inside here as well and go into X-ray just to make sure. So I have all those edges. Come up here to mesh display, harden edge, and just like that, that is looking pretty good. All right, over here in the outliner, these are all my individual pieces for this chair. Now I'm just going to select them all, hit Control G for group, call this chair _ GRP for group. I can select this thing, hit Shift H to unhide that table. And since I did happen to model this off center, when you group it, the group always puts the pivot in centered. This will actually make it fairly quick to duplicate, because now I can just select this chair, hit Shift D, and just like how we did before, I can punch in 90, hit Shift D, and Shift D. And now I have 4 chairs and my table.